Same situation in 4 different countries. But the legal outcome can completely change depending on where you are. A simple police stop on the street can feel routine in one country, but turn into a serious legal moment in another. And most people don't realize how different it actually is. Which country do you think gives more power to the police? And which gives more protection to citizens? Welcome back to the Civil Audit, where we break down how laws actually work in real-world situations across different countries. Disclaimer: this video is created for educational and informational purposes only. The Civil Audit is not a law firm, and nothing in this video should be considered legal advice. Laws vary depending on location and circumstances. If you need legal help, please consult a qualified attorney or legal professional in your area. Before we begin, tell us in the comments which country you're watching from: USA, UK, Canada, or Australia. Imagine this. You're walking home at night. A police officer stops you for a routine check. No crime confirmed. No arrest yet. Just a quick stop. But here's where it gets interesting. What the police can legally do next depends heavily on the country. In the United States, police power during a stop is shaped by constitutional protections, especially the Fourth Amendment. An officer can stop you if they have reasonable suspicion. The meaning they must be able to point to specific facts, not just a random guess. They can ask questions, request ID in many states, and in some situations conduct a pat-down for weapons if they believe there is a safety risk. But they generally cannot search your phone or personal belongings without consent, a warrant, or probable cause. However, this is where it gets complex. Rules can vary significantly between states, and in real situations, courts often decide whether the stop was justified after the fact. But here's where it gets interesting, because what counts as reasonable is not always consistent. Now compare this with the UK. In the UK, police have structured powers under laws like stop and search regulations. An officer can stop you and ask questions, but they usually must have reasonable grounds for a search, although in some designated areas, powers can be broader. They may search you for items like weapons or drugs under specific legal frameworks. However, citizens still have rights, including the right to ask for the reason for the stop, and in some cases a record of the encounter. This is where most people get surprised, because UK police powers can feel more formalized and documented compared to other countries. But again, misuse or improper stops can be challenged later in court. Now moving to Canada, police in Canada also rely on reasonable suspicion for investigative stops. They can briefly detain you to confirm or dispel suspicion of criminal activity. They can ask for identification in certain contexts, especially when laws like traffic or provincial regulations apply. However, charter rights play a major role, especially protections against unreasonable search and detention. In many cases, police must clearly justify why the stop was necessary. But here's the key difference. Canadian courts often focus heavily on balancing public safety with individual rights. In real cases, circumstances can change the outcome. What looks legal in one situation might be ruled unconstitutional in another. Now let's go to Australia. Police powers here vary by state, but generally officers have authority to stop and question individuals if they suspect involvement in an offense. They can conduct searches in certain circumstances, especially if they suspect weapons, drugs, or public safety risks. In some states, police also have broader powers in designated zones or under specific legislation. However, citizens still have rights, including the right to ask why they are being stopped. But unlike some systems, police discretion plays a significant role in how stops are conducted on the ground. But the reality is slightly more complex, because Australia's system combines strict legal rules with practical enforcement flexibility. So now we have 4 different systems. In the United States, the focus is constitutional limits and court interpretation. In the UK, structured stop and search powers guide police action. In Canada, rights-based balancing plays a central role. And in Australia, state-based laws create variation in enforcement. But the big question is not just what the law says. It's how it is applied in real-life situations. This can vary depending on state or province. This is a general legal principle, not a fixed rule everywhere. In real cases, circumstances can change the outcome. And here's what most people never consider. Two identical police stops, same behavior, same situation, can legally be treated very differently depending on the country, or even the state or province within it, which means the power balance between police and citizens is not universal. It is local. So now the real question is, which country do you think handles this situation the most fairly? If you enjoy these real-world legal comparisons, subscribe to the Civil Audit for more educational breakdowns like this. Always remain respectful, calm, and follow local laws and official instructions during any interaction with authorities.